All right, so it's been about just about exactly a month since Hurricane Helene slammed into my area here in northwestern North Carolina, and this was pretty much the only damage that I actually had to deal with, and so I was blessed, absolutely blessed compared to so many people around here. So many people lost a lot. And I feel terrible. But like I said, this tree was a pretty nice sized Shagbark Hickory. I'd say it was probably at least 100 feet tall. And it uprooted real close to my sawmill. In fact, it's laying kind of on my log pile that I have, my backlog essentially for my sawmill. So what I did is I bucked it up starting at the top of the tree and worked my way down, and I didn't bother recording that because it was just, everything was such a mess and a disaster. I didn't feel like dealing with recording that. So I'm getting close to the bottom of the tree now, and I don't know if you can see behind me, but the root ball is sticking up where the tree uprooted. And when I got down to this part of the tree and I was bucking up there, as soon as that log came off, it started splitting, obviously, because you could definitely see that there was a lot of tension there. So as I bucked it and the log came off, the weight and tension of the root ball caused the tree to lift up. And luckily I was being really careful. So when that started, I got out of the way because that can be a pretty bad scenario. So I'm thinking I want to finish this off, but there's still quite a bit of tension between that log and this log still attached to the base down there. And what I'm thinking is, as I'm cutting this, there's still a lot of potential for what's here to want to jerk right back up. So what I did do to maybe help prevent the root ball from wanting to go all the way down and really, jerking what's left of the tree back up, is I was actually back there several days back just trying to pull a lot of dirt off the root ball and let it fall down into the hole. And I know I didn't do a significant amount, but I think I did enough to maybe help it so it's not going to just, jerk back. It might go back a little bit. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm still going to be really careful when I do this and pay very close attention to any movement in the log as I'm cutting and back away if it starts moving fast, because what you don't want to happen is you don't want it to, when you're cutting, you don't want it to jerk back and then kick your saw back, and then you have the potential of the saw coming back on you. It could be a deadly situation. So I want to just take care of these logs, get them on my pile so it doesn't look quite as much of an eyesore as it does right now. And once I get down to that part of the log, what essentially happened is it looked like it was two Shagbark hickory trees that grew together that, were a little next to each other, and as they got bigger, they kind of fused together. And so that area down there is really big. And my MS-290 here is not going to really cut through that very easily. Shagbark hickory is hard enough. But I do have a bigger chainsaw coming for some other projects or jobs or whatever you want to call them. Some other trees that uprooted during Helene that are just massive. And I figured that was a great excuse for me to order a bigger saw. But for now, I'm just going to use this until I get the bigger saw. All right. So what I want to do here is, as you can see, this part of the log has a lot of splitting in it from when I was bucking it before, and it started splitting on me. So this part of the log is not going to be any good to me for milling into lumber, and so I'm trying to find about where the cracking ends. It looks like it's about here. That's weird. you can hear me, but just want to make sure that I have a good exit strategy. So I'm moving this stuff out of the way. So for whatever reason, this thing starts moving where I don't want it to move, or I'm not expecting it to move, I can get out of the way. I'm actually standing on some logs, so I just want to make sure that if I gotta jump out of the way here, I'm not gonna trip and fall and make things worse. Okay. All right, that didn't cause the tree to lift up at all, although we didn't really cut that much off. What I'm going to have to do is, for my sawmill, it mills up to 10 foot lengths, but that's if you get it on there absolutely perfect, and I never can get it on there perfect, so I usually cut my logs to 9 foot lengths. So what I need to do is I need to measure 9 feet out, and that'll determine my next cut. All right, so I'm gonna go up here and measure out 9 feet on this log, and oops, that log is probably not 9 foot down to there. So I don't really need to measure that one. So let me climb up there and grab my saw here first. So what I do is, I just use a saw, and this was the first one I saw, so I grabbed it. I measured down, and then I just kind of cut into the log just to mark it, which is really helpful if I'm going to be measuring multiple lengths at one time. Like if this was a lot longer than it is, what I do is when I cut into the log, I cut a little groove, which allows me to put my tape measure in that groove and go down to the next, mark it, keep marking it from there. But I don't need to do that with this one. The trick here is getting it to stay on there. A lot of times I'll get just about to where I need to mark it, and then the tape measure pops off. Definitely is nice if you got 2 people. See if I can get down to 9 feet without it popping off. And there we go. Right here is 9. So I'll just look for this saw mark when I come back to it. So yeah, this is not in the best spot as far as having a really good way out if the log starts rolling on me. I think although that poplar log up there is probably going to keep it from rolling. The log is not laying on anything. It looks like it might be, but it's not. It's touching the ground right here, down here, and it's not touching anything underneath. So I should be able to saw from the top. I'm gonna cut this out of my way first. And if I notice that the log is starting to pinch on me, well, typically what I do is I buck from the side, which really helps to keep it from pinching. In fact, yeah, that's what I want to do. And then it should just fall that way. And it shouldn't roll because it should get pinched in the tulip poplar logs. But regardless, it's always a extremely smart idea to make sure you always have an exit strategy. Wow, I just broke that. Nice. So I'll take my time here and we'll get her done. I'm actually going to keep this part here. I'm going to cut it up here because that should also help keep it from wanting to roll this way. You know what? I'm probably out of gas. Yep. Should have checked that before I started. All right. I got some gas. I'm gonna go over to the other side to cut this log. I can't quite get that side, and I don't want to be positioned on this side of the log as I'm cutting once I break through in case this thing decides to launch up. I want to be on my hands on my saw on the other side. Maybe I probably should have cut this log first. I got it pinched. Darn it. Yeah, I'm usually pretty good at avoiding that, but yeah. Looks like I'm all the way through though. Okay, so I took a little bit of a break and came back, and as you can see, the log is gone now. So what I did, just to make it easy, you can't see it here, but right there I have a rope attached. I basically just wrapped my rope around the log, got my truck, attached it to the back end of my truck, and just pulled it right up onto the other logs. And solve my problem. Obviously, if you're in the woods with a tree like this and you get your saw stuck, that might not be an option for you. It was just kind of an awkward setup. So the reason why, normally I probably would have come up from underneath the log and went up a little ways first and then cut down. The reason why I didn't do that is because it's a pretty big log for my chainsaw, and underneath I have a ton of big rocks, and they were pretty close, and I didn't want to run the risk of running my chainsaw into the rocks. So I thought that I had enough, there would be enough tension or whatever that it would, when I cut from the top, it would go down, which it did. But the problem is it hung up a little bit on that other log, and it just, if it was able to go all the way down, it probably would have broke through and I wouldn't have gotten stuck. But yeah, this was just kind of an odd situation that I don't normally deal with. But anyway, that log is sitting up here now, so I can finish cutting on that side of this log. I don't know why my camera keeps doing that. Sorry about that. So yeah, I'll be able to cut that little bit that I have left over there, and then that log should come down. You know, I've had this saw now for, I want to say 13 years, and I've never once had it serviced. And I have caught an insane amount of firewood with this thing. But lately it's been giving me some trouble, so I may need to get this serviced. There we go. Cut all the way through. This did not flip up at all. So either this part of the log is still heavier than the root ball, and what I'm thinking is probably the case is when I did actually shave a ton of dirt and stuff or rocks off that root ball, they fell down in the hole. They're preventing it from wanting to go back. So it doesn't hurt to be safe, and take extra precautions whenever you're dealing with a tree like this. Like I said, if I hadn't messed at all with a root ball and just left it as is and started cutting on this, there's a good chance that this thing would have flipped back up on me, and that could be like I said, that could be a really dangerous situation. So, but anyway, I'll have to use my truck. My quad's probably not powerful enough to move these heavy logs. Shagbark hickory is crazy heavy, crazy hard. So I'll use my truck to just kind of pull these logs up on my pile so that I can roll them down onto my sawmill, which is right where my camera is sitting, right on my sawmill. So as you can see, I got a lot of wood to cut up, and I do have a lot of more logs on the woods to cut up. So I certainly do not have any trouble coming by logs to mill. Thanks for watching.